in the past, we've been a lot working with the local level and trying to improve resilience on the ground, which is also the topic of the conference. And for me, it was really important to work on this grassroots level. But I also always felt like there's so many challenges, structural challenges, that are so difficult to overcome if you only work on the local level. And that was basically the feeling that I had when I was entering the conference, and I was hoping to hear some insights on how projects work differently. Just to give one example, if we talk about the availability of food on local level, sometimes it's a production problem. Maybe agricultural production is low, but especially in crisis-affected countries, often what is also a case is that it's a distribution problem. And so you cannot only work on the local level, but you also need to address distribution, market disruptions. And there it becomes really important to also work with policymakers to change frame conditions. So you need to move the work up one level. And I think there were some brilliant examples during the conference on how to do it. For instance, looking at trade, but also strategies that countries can implement to reduce their import dependence and be more resilient when it comes to also global challenges, as we had in the past few years with COVID-19, but also disruptions of global supply chains due to conflict. And thinking about the past few days at the conference here and reflecting on what stood out the most to me were the keynotes of several speakers talking about how resilience also needs to be strengthened on a national level, and that we need ownership by states, but also finding better ways, sometimes different ways, in supporting them. While this was also portrayed as a challenge, I think there was also so much hope and optimism there that there are ways and that we can find ways to do it. And I think that's something that I take now with me back to my project. And I think another thing that really was important in this conference was connecting with the colleagues that work on similar challenges in quite similar contexts. For me, for instance, quite fruitful exchanges with colleagues from Somalia, which are just around the corner of our work in Yemen, stood out because they work with very similar frame conditions. And we had a lot of discussions on how we can improve the sustainability of our activities in the projects, and how we also can share our learnings with colleagues that work in other contexts that are very similar to ours. So when we talk about sustainability in our activities, a lot of it also depends on what happens when a project ends. And for instance, one inspiring exchange with the colleague from Somalia was about how we can improve climate resilience on community level, maybe through early warning systems. And in many of the countries, there are very limited resources available, especially on this community level. And once a project pulls out, those systems collapse. But she was really illustrating how, together with local communities and, for instance, through village saving groups, the community members themselves, once they understood the importance of building up this resilience, they themselves put aside some money to be better prepared. And that was really inspiring. And I think if we can take this to our project, that would be a great benefit. In my work with the sector network Rural Development Africa, which is mainly working on food and nutrition security, we talked a lot more about how we also can strengthen those synergies with the projects. So I think I'll definitely take a lot of inspiration and some very concrete ideas for our work in the group out of this conference.